So how much appealing is your website in the eyes of your website visitors, your prospects, your customers? Do they find your content engaging, entertaining, inspiring? That's what bounce rate is for. By definition, bounce rate is, in percentage, the number of visitors who land on your website, no matter the page, and then bounce, meaning they leave the website before moving forward, meaning before visiting any other page. So why theoretically? Because in theory, the more pages they visit, the more entertaining your website is, the more appealing, the more valuable content is in your website for them to make use of. But bounce rate doesn't take into account many other indicators. For example, how much do people spend on that page, and so on and so forth. In this video that, by the way, I shot quite some months ago, I'm gonna guide you through some of the reasons why bounce rate is not necessarily and always a good indicator. As a matter of fact, now Google Analytics 4 has come into play, and if you have already upgraded to Google Analytics 4, you would for sure notice that the bounce rate is one of those deprecated metrics. It's no longer there. Instead, it's been replaced by other metrics and KPIs that give you a way better idea how much your content is valuable in their eyes, in your customers' eyes. This and more coming up, so let's dig in. The first reason is, for example, a one-page website, and then open a page here. So a one-page website, the definition is pretty much self-explanatory, but essentially is a website made up of one single page. And even if you have menus like this, for example, if I click, you see that links are not necessarily links to other pages, but they are anchor to different chapters within the same page. So this theoretically is a one-page website. Now, think about the definition of bounce rate. It represents the percentage of visitors who enter the site and then leave rather than continuing to view other pages with the same site. So a one-page website not having other pages, well, the bounce rate is necessarily going to be 100%. Does that mean that the website is not appealing? Of course not, but this is just a condition that we need to put everything into context. Another reason may be a one-page booking engine, not just the website, but also the booking engine. And actually, there are many booking engines, but even the biggest one, like TravelClick, is a one-page booking engine. The new Synexis booking engine, even if it doesn't look like a one-page booking engine, but technically speaking, is a one-page booking engine. What does that mean? That when people jump onto the booking engine, for example, from meta search engines, meaning meta search engines, Google, TripAdvisor, Trivago, whatsoever, they jump directly onto the booking engine without visiting your website. Well, they actually have only one page view, because no matter how they interact, no matter their booking search criteria, even if they get to the booking confirmation, which is the last step, if it is a one-page booking engine, different step doesn't mean different pages. The other reason may be a landing page from a specific Google query, like in this case. All right, I simply entered the query Hotel Milan near Duomo with parking, so it's a little bit of a long tail keyword, and I might end up visiting this website, and if I jump on it, I've already opened it, I jump onto this page that doesn't necessarily include any specific call to action. You see, it's just a bunch of features that the hotel has been providing his customers with, but there are no specific call to actions other than the upper menu and of course the book now button, but there are no other specific call to action. And in this case, does this mean that the website is not appealing? Well, probably yes, but the biggest problem is that from an SEO perspective, this hotel is redirecting users to a page that is not necessarily relevant if we consider the original query. And therefore, if I'm querying this specific keyword and I'm seeing this content, is this content necessarily relevant for what I am experiencing? Probably not. So you see, these are just a few of the many reasons why bounce rate, to me, is not necessarily a good metric to look into, or at least it doesn't deserve so much attention. So what should we say? Because the question remains, how do we assess whether our website is performing or not, is appealing or not? Well, there are actually at least a couple of metrics that you can consider. none of which is automatically provided by Google, meaning that you need to set them up with a bit of customization. The first one, I talk all the times about it, is the CTR, which is the click-through rate. It computes essentially how many visitors actually perform a booking search out of the total number of visitors of your website. In other words, if you have 1,000 visitors of your website and only 100 of them jump onto the booking process, well, your CTR is 10%. Now, 10% is a good CTR? Definitely not. 30, probably better. Of course, the higher the CTR, the better. But if you have not been tracking this metric, this is, to me, the most important metric that we can count on, CTR and CVR, so conversion rate. The second metric is a little bit more detailed, which is about the scroll depth. So, especially when you have long pages, long copy pages, meaning pages with a lot of content, you might want to see people scrolling as much as possible, scrolling down as much as possible. So the more they scroll up and down, the more, in quote, appealing that page is. Now, I'm not going to talk about how to do that, but eventually I'm going to shoot another video on how to do it specifically with Google Tag Manager, because it's relatively easy. It's essentially almost automatic. But that's another metric, a way better metric to assess the appealing of the website. And the last thing is not necessarily a metric, but for example, our heat maps and Hotjar, for example, also provides, now I don't remember by heart, but I think they also provide something for free. But eventually it tells you the heat maps, so where exactly or where more likely people are looking into or clicking into, and therefore it tells you what kind of content is more relevant to them, or what kind of CTA, so call to action, are more relevant to them. All right, this is really it for today, and I'll see you again in the next videos.